Well, good afternoon or good evening if you're in the beautiful USA, and if you're overseas, particularly in the Pacific Rim, it's already Super Saturday morning. I am Bruce, aka the guy in the blue shirt, and also Mr. Simpler, Faster, Better. And I am actually just waiting a couple of minutes for Tom Baker, but I will go ahead and actually start off with how my passion for racing came about. So, not too long into my 30s, I started to do go-kart racing a little bit inside. It was in a hall, and I had a buddy called Paul Bellamy. Paul and I used to compete with each other, and he was way younger than I was, and of course he would win most of the races. Anyway, fast forward from the go-kart racing, we actually went to a open wheel racing circuit called Snetterton, and it was in what they call the county of Norfolk. So it was pretty rural, and it was pretty wet, and it was pretty cold. Anyway, we went to see the touring cars, which are the equivalent of the NASCAR series over in England. And we watched a few touring car events, and then we noticed that as we were leaving one afternoon from the actual race, there was an opportunity to sign up for what they called the Formula First program. And the Formula First program was sponsored by Ford. And at that time, they had some pretty fast Ford Escorts that you could do your training in. And then you would actually get the opportunity to hop onto or hop into an open wheel Formula First car and go for it on your own. So anyway, Tom's just texted me. He's having a couple of media problems, and I'll keep going on with my little history about the business of racing. So we did the Formula First half-day training in the Ford Escorts, and then we decided to go and be a little bit more serious. So we went on and scheduled to do the Formula First open wheel racing. And of course, Paul was still way faster than me. Actually, Tom's going to join us. Hey, Tom, I was just doing my little intro about my passion for racing, going all the way back to the Snetterton Raceway in the bleak part of Norfolk, which is pretty cold and pretty damp there. So anyway, I'll just finish up. So I got into Formula First practice with a guy called Paul. And even though he beat me at go-kart racing all the way through the couple of years we did that, I actually beat him at the Formula First race. And then at the end of that afternoon, we got the opportunity to go sit side by side with a Trans Am racer who was a professional guy. And I spent most of the time in the car going sideways with him at 160 miles an hour through the Snetterton Raceway.
Oh
So
my.
that's where yeah, so that's where my knee, I was watching Top Gun the other night, Tom, and it reminded me of you because there's that line in there. I feel the need for speed. Going sideways in a Trans Am car with a pro driver, that killed my need for speed for a while. I had to kind of calm down after that. It was like,
There you go.
whoa, this is way too scary for me. But anyway, thanks for joining.
Yes, sir.
Perhaps
Thanks for having me.
no, you're welcome. And the joys of live streaming is I've noticed that if you have a little story up your sleeve for the topic, it still works out. And anyway, and
Absolutely.
is that your new swag shirt as well? Looks like a new
No, this is actually whoops, I keep forgetting that the camera's
I know.
backwards here. So
Yeah, I know.
this
This
is
way.
the O'Reilly Auto Parts National Indoor Kart Championship, which is the largest indoor go-kart race on the planet. And I've
Right.
been fortunate enough to be able to be the voice of that event, calling that event for 21 straight years now. So
Oh,
happened to
wow.
throw it on today, and I thought, well, this will be appropriate for the
Yeah,
podcast. So it's a lot of
absolutely.
fun. We had 1,400 entries from all over the country last Thanksgiving weekend. We were over
Ooh,
1,500 the year before. So it's a big event over 2 days.
that is a lot of gas fumes, a lot of go-karts for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty fascinating event actually, because you have to bring the dirt in from outside
Right.
to form the racetrack on the arena floor, and it takes about a week to kind of get the track and prepare it and all that, and then the race is held over a 2-day period. You're processing about 700-800 carts a day,
Yeah.
22 classes a day, and when that event is held in Batesville, Mississippi, we about double the population for Thanksgiving weekend. So
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing, honestly.
Well, what a great segue, because the other thing I was going to talk about, I got my IndyCar schedule here, and
Oh, there you go.
I just got my tickets ordered for Texas Motor Speedway, and then this weekend I'm going to get my stuff on order for Long Beach. So I'm
Nice.
good to go, and I'm actually so it's a great segue, the business of racing, right? And I didn't know, but I've been collaborating with a connection over there in Keller, Texas, which is pretty close to Texas Motor Speedway, which is a 2-mile tri-oval, which
Sure.
is a small version of the Indy 500 basically. But and we were just chit-chatting actually last week, and we were talking about her development of her strengthsology, and it turned out she is an IndyCar fan. So I said, hey, what are you doing on March 20th? And she said, I don't know. And anyway, so we're going to go together, so that will be actually nice. So what a great example, how you can use business and racing, and it's and we touched upon this last week with Brandon, that it's very hands-on and it's very fan friendly, and it's where else can you get up close and personal with some unbelievable human beings that are either the cars or the teams or the sponsors, and it's just an amazing time when you go to an event like that. And yeah, so it's going to be fun to go with a new business, well, not a new business connection, but a new IndyCar fan that I didn't know was an IndyCar fan who's a business connection. So amazing, huh?
Yeah, it should be a good time. Sounds like fun.
Yeah, they haven't figured out the start time yet, because usually it's in June and in the evening, and it's usually 100 degrees there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so super sticky, super humid. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see, with the temperatures and the humidity being so different, how the cars actually go. So it'll be an eye-opener for everybody, I'm sure. So
absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it really is. You talk about the business of racing. It is a business. It is, obviously it's a sponsor-driven sport, so that makes it business. And you mentioned the hands-on part of it, and I did talk about last week the relationship between the athletes and the fans. And I mean, when I first started going to my local track at 5 years old, that was something, for me, our track, this was back in the 70s, and our track had a weekly program that you could buy for $1. And I used to take that program and go to the pits after the races and get all the drivers to autograph the cover, or, maybe a picture inside of them if there was one. But, just getting to know the drivers at that age, they were larger than life, at 5 years old. You don't, and of course, back then too, there weren't the safety advances. And so, and I was watching open wheeled super modifieds, which were 800 horsepower and about 1,800 pounds. And, those things are flying around the Oswego Speedway at, in 18 seconds. They spin and hit the steel wall. And, I saw some things that, probably weren't, you saw people get hurt. You saw, so my perception at 5 years old was that these people were superheroes, and my favorite driver was killed in a crash in 1982 there in a modified car, NASCAR type modified car. And I still can't talk about that weekend without crying all these years later. I mean, that's how much that impacted me. I was 14 then, but you know, and that's the relationship part of it, the family part of it, the lifestyle part of it. That's what makes it so appealing for sponsors, because the audience is very loyal to the sponsors that get involved, because they know that without them, there is no sport. You know, we don't exist without our sponsors. So, you know, O'Reilly's been sponsoring the go-kart event for the last, I think, since 2004 or 5. And, you know, they've been an amazing partner. And, you know, again, that's the type of business deal that you want, you know. So it's so important for these young kids like Brandon to have time on shows like this and to be able to get their name out and be able to, you know, to have an audience to talk about their sponsors too, because that's, you know, that's the reason the sponsors get involved, is because they know that audience is there and it's very loyal.
Yeah, well, maybe with a little bit more repetitiveness, and I know we've got Finn coming up next Tuesday, right? So yeah, and just give me the earliest time we can do that, and a little blurb about Finn. He connected
4:30, you said, and so Finn's ready for that. But yeah, it's really going to be a great time. And you know, Finn Robinson is who you're talking about, and there's an example. He's from the UK, and you know, Finn approached me last fall about, you know, doing some work for him and with him. And I mean, you know, the first impression you get is him sitting in his room. There's a big Route 66 sign behind him. He's about the most American young Brit I've ever seen in my life, but he's just so into the American form of racing, and very studied and very, you know, he knows the development divisions, and he understands the game, and he knows what he's up against, because again, he doesn't come from money. So he knows that he's got to find a way to earn that way to come across the pond and end up, you know, in NASCAR. So, you know, we're just starting now to put the pieces together for him, hopefully to have something to race next year here.
Yeah. Well, if we could go a lot, you know, as early as we could next week on Tuesday, because I actually have to be, I'm co-hosting a LinkedIn local in person. So I have to be kind of on site. And so, yeah, if we can go as early as possible next Tuesday afternoon, that would be awesome. And Finn did connect with me. So I'm hoping what would be really cool, you know, talking about the business of racing, it would be really cool if somebody on the LinkedIn side would see, at least with their fan base. I mean, you know, there's somewhere approaching north of 760 million people now on the platform. It would be really cool if they would get the vision about, you know, seeing if they could help sponsor, even if it was one driver, right? It would be super cool if they could do that. So, hey, if there's anyone from LinkedIn listening in, or somebody closely associated with the leadership at LinkedIn, you might be able to power up, you know, your influence a little bit more by getting involved with Tom and his drivers. That would be super cool, right, Tom?
Yeah, for sure. We've got 6. We got Finn in the UK. We got 5 drivers here in the US, and all of them are ready to make a move to the next rung of the ladder from where they're at now. They're all short track racers, and they're all winning and all very marketable. And you know, there are so many like them too. And none of them come from money. You know, you really have to earn that sponsorship. But we've got, you know, a worldwide syndicated radio show to back up the sponsorship with, that gets about 1.4 million listeners a week on about 40 different platforms. And we've got some other really cool events that we're doing that I think are going to be very popular over the next year or so too. So we've got a lot of kind of activation touch points that we can back that up with, back up the sponsorship of the driver with. But yeah, these kids just, they're really strong young racers, and you know, they just need the opportunity, and we've got that. And the sport really is for sponsorship, you can't beat it. Like I said, there are so many ways to directly tie the driver to the fan base, and to be involved with you know, the race event itself on the weekends, that you know, especially for a company who maybe is an emerging company that's looking to blow up their brand, we've got some great opportunities.
Yep, that's and actually I won't call her out by name, but while you were talking, that brought to mind a lady that used to work at LinkedIn. So I will be sure to tag her and see if she'll take a quick look at this, because she might know some inner activity in the LinkedIn organization that, you know, might be able to direct us, you know, in the right business flow, so that we don't bypass the right, you know, due diligence on anyone's part, because that's not good. You know, the business of racing is not to delude either, right? We want to be above board and do it well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, and it's amazing. The business of racing is also, and you touched on it, on the ladder system, and not so many people may know, but the ladder system is designed for anybody from any background to, you know, based on their talent and their passion and their will and their skill, to make it to the very upper echelons of racing. And that, you know, there aren't too many other sports that are like that either. So what, you want to talk a little bit more about that as well, that makes it unique?
Sure. Well, and I can do a bit of a comparison. So if you're, you know, if you're a baseball player, you know, you have, I mean, you have high school, then college, and then there's single A, double A, triple A, and then the majors. And really what makes the difference, if you get a chance or don't get a chance, is your talent. If somebody spots you and they give you a chance and you play well, you'll keep going up. But it's different with motorsports, because again, it's a sponsor driven sport, you know, so it's pay to play basically for a lot of the ladder system in most parts of the sport, whether it's the road to Indy, whether it's, you know, the ladder to NASCAR, which would be basically late models ARCA or late models trucks Xfinity Cup. You know, it costs a lot of money. Now, the difference for the sponsor, though, is that there are so many ways to utilize motorsports to help grow your business. You know, there's so much B2B and B2C going on in our sport that doesn't happen in the other sports. So even though from the athlete's point of view, the racer in this case, it's much harder and much more uncertain, and you need so much money, the value's there to the sponsors, because you have television, you have a lot of digital live streaming now. You know, really motorsports has figured out and is figuring out the digital world probably better than most sports, to be honest, at this point. And live stream events, you know, the idea that someone would spend $40 to watch a race online, that's becoming very well accepted among our millions of, you know, fans worldwide that cater and enjoy the sport. You know, so again, it's not, there's a lot of opportunity for companies to get involved, and it doesn't always cost $1 million. You know, so, I mean, whereas it would cost $1 million or more probably to get on Kevin Harvick's, a little sticker like this on Kevin Harvick's B post in the Cup Series on his car, you know, I could take $1 million and make somebody a star 7 days a week in multiple, you know, positions and properties across the internet and race cars and drivers, you know, so that, again, it doesn't always have to be NASCAR. That you can have great success with marketing at the grassroots and regional levels of the sport too. We just got to get sponsors to pay attention to that and understand that the fan base is there too.
Right. And like you said, you can, you know, they can pick and choose, because you have the different avenues to plug and play at different levels and at different widths and depths. So yeah, it's a fascinating world that, again, unless you're passionate about it or interested about it, or like yourself being in it, I had no idea you've been in it since 5 years old. So I am
as a fan. Yeah,
I know. Well, that's how most people start, right? You become a fan, or unless, you know, there aren't too many Andretti births and things like that. So, you know, you don't, or Franchini births, you know, so most of it starts from, you know, the whole fan base, and it goes from there. And hey, Brandon, Dirt fans are the best. How about that one? What a great comment, Brandon.
Brandon's a little biased at this point.
Hey, he made it. He made it to the finish of the wedding. I do know that because I was
Yes.
did a quick chit chat
Yeah.
with him. So good job, Brandon. I'm sure you were an
Proud of you,
amazing.
man.
Yeah, I'm sure you were an amazing best buddy to be at the wedding. So good job.
Yeah, he probably had the chili bowl on his phone the whole time,
Oh, I'm sure.
watching the alphabet soup. Yeah.
Yeah, probably multitasking and also thinking about how fast he can go at his when his first race is coming up soon, right? Isn't it next month?
Yeah, February 25th is his first race, and I'll be there with him. So we'll be doing a lot of social from that one on his page and also on Steering Wheel Nation, our social. Yeah, so we'll be doing some coverage there, which is fun. It's a World of Outlaws sprint car race. So he's going up against the best in the country for 410 sprint cars. So, you know, he overachieves, which is why I like him. All of our drivers are like that. They all either drive for family-owned teams or, you know, they're racing for someone, but it's on a budget compared to, you know, those they race with, a lot of them. And so, you know, when our guys go out and win a race, they earn it. And Brandon certainly is one of the hardest working young men I've ever worked with. And we're excited about what we can do with him, hopefully over the next year or two.
Uh-oh, he said he dropped the ring once. I hope he don't drop the track off the track in February, because that's not good. I've been there, done that, as we talked about last week. So anyway,
I think I remember something about me doing that because I was the ring bearer in my sister's wedding. I was only about 4, so I don't really remember much, but I remember hearing a story about me in the ring. I don't know what it was, but somehow I think I messed up somewhere too. But I was 4, so I guess I have an excuse.
I've always gotten out of that role because I'm a little klutzy, particularly when I get nervous. I already know I'm not the right person to be holding something that right. So anyway, well, cool. Well, you know, if the race does go on in February, I'm hopefully you'll know ahead of time. Then maybe I can tag in somehow with a little clip, you know, from the track. You know, maybe we could do a special pop-up live, and you could come on from the track, and that would be pretty cool as well. So
sure.
That might be super interesting for, you know, a new fan to be, or somebody that really has no clue about what really happens at the track. And again, it's a pretty elite thing until you get into it. And then when you get into it, you can't get out of it. You know, it's like becomes pretty addictive. So anyway, well, good job. I'm glad you didn't lose the ring. That would have been not so good, Brandon. Oh, well. All right. So do Brandon and Finn know each other?
No, I don't think they do. We had one kind of group session back in January. We're going to do more of those, but you know, it's hard to get everybody. You know, Finn is about 4 or 5 hours ahead of our time zone over there, so it's hard to get everybody together at the same time because you got Eastern time, Central time, Western time, and then Finn time in the UK. And so it's very different, you know, very different situation for us to try to make everybody meet in a Zoom call. But we do have a really great group of drivers and a really good team. I've got a tremendous marketing and sales team. And so we're excited about that's kind of new to me. It's been me for a number of years trying to wear every hat. And so, you know, I've got Ashley Davis and Debbie Hagen are both just tremendous marketing and sales folks. And we've got some other team members too that work with us now. And so Steering Wheel Nation, when it officially launches, is going to be, I think, the most amazing thing that I've ever done, the most, you know, the most enjoyable thing I've ever done. And we've got some things that we're going to be offering for the race fans and the racing community that I think are going to be very well received, or at least we hope they will. We're going to, again, some, you know, experiential kind of opportunities for people to come together and have a great time, whether it's at a racetrack or in a different environment. We're going to do some really interesting things. So we're excited about all that, in addition to the drivers that we have, trying to help them get where they want to go. And then of
Sure.
course the media side too, covering the events and all of our shows and such.
Awesome. Well, depending on are they on Eastern time with you, your team?
No, actually they're kind of scattered all over too. It's a very remote team. So, it's kind of interesting, again, even trying to get all of them together, but we managed to do that once in a while. But they're a great bunch of people, and we
Sure.
really are excited about working together. And I think the long-term ideas and the long-term vision for what we want to do, because we don't want to just be a media brand. We don't want to just be a driver promotion brand. We want to be more than that. We want to be kind of a community.
Right.
And, we also want to be community minded too. We're very charity minded, and we really want to be able to, as we grow our brand, we want to, be able to utilize that to help others, who need it, and to help some organizations out that do great work out there. So,
so that's why I have to, be earlier next Tuesday, because I'm actually we're supporting OCJ Kids, which is a nonprofit here in the Phoenix Metroplex for kids that move between foster homes, and we're actually been collecting either gently used or new luggage, because these poor kids, most of the time they move in literally, plastic trash bags. They put all their stuff in, and it's, pretty demoralizing when that happens. So yeah.
Wow.
So I got to go to this. I got to go to the event place, and we got to unload all the bags that we're going to donate. So yeah. So as early as we can next Tuesday afternoon would be appreciated. And again, feel free to, if you'd like to ask your team, even if they wanted to hop on and say hi, feel free to do that, because again, LinkedIn and the whole live streaming nation that I belong to, we love to see other communities also operating like a community. So if you wanted to do that, Tom, just feel free to ask your team to, or share the link with them. And if they can hop on and just say hi, that would be great. So
sure. Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hey, it might make Finn a little bit less nervous as well.
You're not going to have to worry about Finn being nervous. Finn is a natural. And Finn will be a really entertaining interview. He's got a great personality, a lot like Brandon. Actually, they're a lot the same, and very down to earth, very very easy conversationalists, and they just have such a great passion for what they do. And what Finn races over there is a little different. It's a very different. Short track oval racing in the UK is a full contact sport in most divisions. So, you see the cars that they run, they all have like the bumper rails like you'd see on a bumper car or whatever, or on a go-kart at an amusement park. And that's because they use them. And Finn calls it hoofing. And so, once in a while you get hoofed, and then you have to hoof the guy in front of you to, but it's just a very different kind of racing over there at the short track oval level. So we're trying to get Finn out of that style and more toward the American style, because you don't want to do that over here. You'll get hoofed right into the wall, and it'll cost you some money. So, but it's fun. Finn he's a terrific young man, and like I said, just a fun personality. You'll enjoy interviewing him for sure.
Okay. Well, I'll have to remember some from my English slang, and we'll see how that goes. But not heard hoofing before. That's a
that's a short track oval in the UK racing term, hoofing.
Okay.
Here we would call it rooting and gouging, or we would call it bump and run, or whatever you'd want to call it. You're moving a guy out of the way. Over there, it's a hoof. So, it's a hoof.
Hey, well, Anthony Reed hopped on. He was with us with Brandon last week as well. So thank you, Anthony, for being loyal.
Hello, Anthony. Good to see you back.
Yeah, he's a good guy. So if you've not connected already, you guys should connect. I think you'd get along real well. Anthony has a very powerful life story, and I know that you like people with life stories, Tom. So yeah, he'd be a great connection for you. And hey, you never know, those guys are doing some interesting stuff to propel their brand. So, you just never know. You might find a way to collaborate and move forward. You never know, right?
Sure.
Yep. Now, I don't know if you've noticed it, but I got my new swag talking about, you know, I
Oh,
got
there
my
you go. That
Yep.
looks good.
That's co-branded with brand new swag. That's so that's an interesting community story. I met a guy in Tulsa, and we met for some one-on-ones, and then he introduced me to his business partner, and then we were talking about blue shirts before Christmas, and anyway, we ended up doing a co-sponsoring. So we now have process cleanup and simpler, faster, better, and brand new swag all on the same shirt. And
Very nice.
that's another reason why I got to leave a little earlier on Tuesday, is I'm going to wear the polo version of this. So I'm going to try and do some pictures to, you know, thank them for co-branding me with some really nice shirts, and they're real comfy as well. I'm very honored. Yeah,
I would ask if it comes in any other colors, but you're the guy in the blue shirt, so probably not, right?
No. I absolutely
Available in blue and blue.
But for you, I would be more than happy to introduce you to Jacqueline. She's a wonderful, creative young lady. So yeah, I can do that. No problem at all. And they're based in Tulsa.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Tulsa is the home of the Chili Bowl, which is that is the race that Brandon wanted to be in this past weekend, and it's one of the biggest races in the country. Actually, they had over almost 400 entries, and yeah, it's a whole week-long event that culminates on Saturday, and so that that's an event we definitely want Brandon in next year. So if there's anybody in the Tulsa area that's looking for a great way to get their brand out there, we've got a great package for them. The last time we did a push with the Chili Bowl for media, we engaged over a quarter of a million people, and we reached over 1 million. So there's a great opportunity there. But that's cool. Tulsa's a great city.
Yeah, well, I will be sure here. I'm going to make a note because sometimes I forget. I'll be sure to connect you guys together. She's more of a texter, Tom, so I'll connect you through your emergency text, and also on LinkedIn as well. So
I don't mind texting. I just don't do it well because I'm one finger, and then I fat finger everything. So I can type about 70 words a minute on a keyboard, but that was one of the things high school taught me all those years ago. So
all right. So Anthony, all right, thanks, man. Yeah, always open to conversations. There we go, Tom. You guys might be cross community collaborating, because Anthony's got an interesting community going on, and just based on Anthony and Dwellin being live guests on my show before, they're an amazing pair of talented guys in a different arena. So I could just see there might be some oiling of the wheels here. So that would be awesome.
I'll reach out to you over the weekend, Anthony.
Oiling of the wheels, bad joke, Bruce, bad joke. All right. So, wow, we're at 33 minutes already, Tom. Time flies when we're talking about.
Time's fun when you're having flies.
It sure flies. Yeah. All right. So on the business of racing, any thoughts about how you see 2022 and unfolding? Because it's been, like all sports, it's been a difficult couple of years. So what are your thoughts on how that's going to look like for 2020?
It's hard to say. I mean, we're just getting started. I mean, looking at NASCAR, which is what everybody kind of keys on, they've got a brand new Cup Series car that they're debuting actually coming up in a couple of weeks out in Los Angeles, of all places, at the Coliseum. They're going to have an event called Clash at the Coliseum, which there used to be an event at Daytona called the Busch Clash, and what it was the first event of the year. It was a non-points race that was for all the Fast Time Award winners, the pole award winners from the season before. Well, they've kind of thrown that away, and they've taken the Clash name and applied it to this new thing at the LA Coliseum, where they're actually going to they've spent about $1 million to put a track in around the football field there, and they're going to run a race in a couple of weeks there that will start their season again. Non-points race, heat races, which they never run during the any other time, but they're going to have heat races, then the feature, and it's a quarter mile. So you can imagine what's going to happen there. And there's going to be a lot of wrinkled fenders, I think. But so they've got a brand new car that's basically a sports car. It's got independent rear suspension. If you know anything about the Australian supercars series, it's basically a supercar. In a lot of ways. But so that's what the new Cup car is. So we're going to get to see that, and I think that's inspired a lot of interest in the Cup series and in NASCAR again. Short track wise, the short tracks, I think even this past year came out of 2020 pretty strongly for the most part. People were itching to get back out and go to the track again. So the fan support was up. I think the grassroots racing levels, the Saturday night short tracks around the country, I think a lot of them are in pretty good shape going into 2022. Divisions like the World of Outlaws that Brandon races, the modified division that John Holloman races, you'll meet him eventually at Bowman Gray Stadium, which is again like the Coliseum. It's a quarter mile track around a football field here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Divisions like that have a tremendous amount of interest. The live streaming availability and the availability for us as fans for $100 or $150 for the year to watch an entire season of racing with a bunch of different types of cars, like flowracing.com, is a great example of that. I mean, there's so much available to the fans to watch, even if they're not at the track. So, I'd like to think that it's going to be a pretty healthy, sport for the year. And certainly there are more Fortune 500 companies in NASCAR than there've ever been. There's new sponsors of the World of Outlaws division. I mean, I think corporate types are really seeing motorsports, starting to see it for what it is, even at the lower levels, the opportunities to directly engage with the fans and do a lot of cool things with a sport that's very high energy and high engagement. And, and has the most loyal fan base in all of sports. So, absolutely. I think it's pretty healthy. I don't know. I hope. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for sure, because obviously it's the business I'm in. So you want it to be healthy, and you just hope that, hope that forces around it help it to stay healthy, Yeah.
All right. So if you have an interest, even as a fan or as a potential discussion around building on the leverage from Tom's community, he's been at it for a long time. Reach out to Tom here on LinkedIn, and he's pretty responsive on the messaging on LinkedIn. So that's probably the best way to do that, right, Tom?
Yeah. I try to be pretty responsible, and I really enjoy communicating with the people here. I think this is the best platform going, honestly. The business to business part of it, and I think it's the most enjoyable platform of all of them now to be a part of. So would love to hear from anyone that wants to talk about motorsports or get involved in some way.
Well, I'm going to be getting back out there and niching. Most of my experience is in helping companies that assemble stuff, and it can be as small as assembling little kits of information all the way up to assembling aircraft and bigger things than that. So so I'm going to be niching down, particularly where I live now. There's a lot of assembly type companies here, and seems to be an attractive place for companies to come. It's a good quality of life. So as I start to venture out, assembly companies are traditionally more open to, mechanical type things. So we'll see. All right. So I'm going to do my little selfish plug. Thanks for all the live stream comments and guests. And if you're watching this as a replay, you can still pop your question in the feed for either Tom or I or both of us, and we will get back to you. So I'm just going to do my little outtake. And then if you could hang on for a couple of minutes. Where is it? All right. It would help if I could press the right buttons, right?
That usually works better. Yeah.
I know it does, doesn't it? All right.
So, what if your processes do not work well? Did you know you can save or eliminate massive amounts of wasted steps, time, money, or other resources. Bruce can show or teach you how. Take the next step. Visit his website at processcleanup.com and book a casual yet confidential call with Bruce. It just might change your world forever.
Yay, there we go. So naming my services at Assembly. So if you know anyone as a guest on the live here that assembles stuff and you think they would like to assemble stuff better, then I'm your guy. So
Very exciting.
yeah. Well, it's funny when you do the research. When we're in it, we can't see it sometimes. So I've been doing some research around, how do I take all my experience and turn it into an online signature program, and I go all the way back to 1982 was my first successful assembly business that I helped set up, and grew it into a very profitable making business, and it was in the medical device sector. So way back then, 1982. So, and I even found some old black and white pictures to validate that it was really me. And so amazing what you can find when you do research.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Tom. And
thank you. Appreciate it, Bruce.
Live, and then we'll just tag up for hooking up with Finn next week.